is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished.
This is Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
X about me, X about me.
With Professional Sutton.
You already know.
Chris G.
My homie.
And the Rucker Report.
My family, what up?
They for real.
All straight with no chaser.
Let the games begin.
Let's go. Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
Woo! Welcome to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy Professional Sutton on behalf of D-Ruck, the Ruck Report, and Chris G. I'm in the building tonight. I'm going to have a great time. It's going to be a great show. But before we begin, we want to thank our sponsor, 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city, home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. You can catch your boy there every morning from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on East Coast, New Haven's finest R&B and adult contemporary music. Also, if you're not in the New Haven area, you can catch us on 943WYBC.com. Holla at your boy. I'm up there. I am so excited because this is actually my first time doing this OBS system. So after this gets done, it's going to be on YouTube. I got the audio. That's going to be on Amazon. iTunes, Spotify, anywhere podcast platform or so your boy gonna be up there. I'm doing my thing. So holla at me. So tonight, we're gonna go straight in. This whole Chick-Fil-A versus Popeyes. I guess it kind of got everybody away from Jay-Z, and I guess everybody forgot that they supposed to be mad at Jay-Z. But when chicken is involved, I guess people forget. So hey, that's fine. That's fine with me. We got the whole Popeye chicken and Chick-fil-A and who has the best chicken. Honestly, I can't say who has the best chicken because I only tried Chick-fil-A. I'm sorry. I was not standing in line for no 3 hours for no damn chicken. I cannot do it. So once Popeyes and once everybody, get their filling and fixing on all the chicken, I guess I'll go to Popeyes and I'll do my own review, see who's better. But it doesn't matter. I mean, chicken's chicken, But the point is, you're supposed to be mad at Jay-Z in case you don't know. So the title of the show, you supposed to be mad at Jay-Z. Why aren't you mad at Jay-Z? But I guess, Riley and, the Boondocks had it correct. You give somebody some chicken and guess what? They forget all about their problems, So I guess chicken do that to you, I guess some good chicken would do that to you. But nonetheless, I'm gonna be good tonight. I swear I'm gonna try to be good. I got to get my lighting right because, this is my first time actually, going live, like I said, on not live, but making some good quality videos. I got the lights over here, so if y'all see me going in and out with the lighting, again, I'm my camera is getting used to me being so in this limelight. Again, this is all new to me, so I'm trying not to move so much. I'm a very animated person, as you'll see, through the videos, but it's going to be a good one tonight. So I just want to do my review on this Donald Sterling 30 for 30 documentary that ESPN did a great job. It's called 30 for 30 Donald Sterling. It's a 4-part series, and watching that, it was, I think, in case you don't know, Donald Sterling, he was the previous owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, he was a horrible owner. I mean, he was a cheapskate. Now, mind you, this man is a billionaire, but he subjected his players to have to, play at a local junior college. The conditions in which they played were horrible. The Clippers were always the laughingstock. When I was coming up, nobody wanted to play for the Clippers. But I guess when you love the sport of basketball, you didn't care. And, he was caught on tape by his side chick, his mistress, saying some awful things about Magic Johnson and black people and just minorities in general. He was talking about how he didn't like them, and, he was mad because she had to, prance around with them. Can't you just be friends with them and not have to, prance around with them like everybody else? So he was pretty pissed about that. I'm sorry about the lighting, people. I'm doing my best to try to make sure that I'm not moving too much. Like I said, I'm a pretty animated guy, so I like to move. But Donald Sterling, he was a horrible owner. Let's just put it like that. I mean, since the start of time, I think that since his conception of being an owner, he was just this jerk. He didn't understand what being an NBA owner was. And a lot of owners, they don't really care. Like, let's be real. They just all about the money. They don't watch basketball. It's an investment to them. Like, make me some more money and make me more money and just keep winning, and that's how it was. But he took it to the whole nother level. I mean, this guy was really trying to buy players. Like, not buy players for his team so team could be better. Like, literally, from what accounts were saying, according to the interview, he was trying to buy players as if they were property. Like, I will buy you for $200,000 and you come play with me. No, it doesn't work like that. You have a contract. The contract states that I cannot play for anyone until this time and I become a free agent. And it sounds like he was really subjecting these players to what would be called slavery. Just the way he looked at them, every player had the same thing to say about him. Like, he would grab them and say, "Oh, look at this hunk. Look at this guy," and parade in the locker room with his friends, and just a really bad person, for what I'm hearing. I mean, I think what people probably don't understand is that Sterling is not his last name, his official birthright name. His official name is Sterling because he changed the name legally. So, okay, Sterling's his last name. But also, he made sure, being a Jewish male, that he didn't want to be known as Tuckowitz, which is his name. So if you ever look at his name, look his name up, it's Donald T. Sterling. The T stand for Tuckowitz, and that's his last name. He's obviously Jewish with the wits, and so he didn't want to be stereotyped. He didn't want to be looked at as this Jewish guy. But you realize that it was a deeper issue, and just not being a Jewish guy. But I think that the hate that he had for himself, and the reason he didn't like minorities, because of the hate he had and probably endured as a kid. But that still was no excuse, that still was no excuse. And prior to him becoming this NBA owner, he owned a lot of land, he owned a lot of property in and out of LA County. And he's very successful. Even to this day, he's worth, I guess, over $3.8 billion. He worth $3.8 billion. So in 2014, the NBA said, "You know what, Mr. Sterling, what you said about Magic Johnson and minorities was horrible. We're going to kick you out. See you later. Bye." So he was banned from the NBA, can't come to the game, he can't participate. I'm sure he has his hand in it some way, somehow. He's a billionaire, and he's an egotistical jerk. So he was banned, and he had to pay a $2.5 million fine, which is nothing to him. Like, I mean, it's $2.5 million to him is like a regular person paying less than a penny, probably, because he has money like that. But watching this documentary, it just reminds you of the harsh reality of sports. And people like him need to be out of the sports. Being a coach, being around sports, you have people who really have this dire and hunger to be the best, but also they do it in a negative, nasty way. I think the reason why people love sports is because sports can bring everyone in, regardless of your race, color, creed, sexuality. You're rooting for one thing, and that's your team. So I think that watching this, I was very appreciative of, my understanding as a male, and my understanding as like how important sports is, and and what it did for me. But I think that, just the stuff that he did to people and for people, it didn't sound like he was a really good person, because some people, there's two sides to the story. But I think that once he realized, he can make a lot of money and he could be the bad guy, I think that he enjoyed that role of being the bad guy. And I don't know if it was ignorance. I don't know if he knew what he was doing. I'm going to say he didn't know what he was doing. But I think after a while, he liked that role because he was able to be a cheapskate. Again, like I said, he was subjecting his players to shower in the junior college locker room, not D1, not D2, like a junior college, like in the hood. Like, they were not important to him. And the reason why his team sucked because nobody wanted to play for him. So all these years, being a kid, I'm like, why are the Clippers so bad? You have the LA Lakers right there. Like, you guys are in LA, prime real estate, best place. And then, years later, you find out that they play for an asshole of an owner, and it took these tapes to come out for him to be this villain, this devil. Like, I think that he should have been out of the league years ago. But again, because he was a lawyer prior to him owning so many properties, he would file suits upon suits against people, against the NBA. He had a suit against the NBA, that they, eventually dropped. But they wanted to get rid of him years ago, but they just couldn't. And I say that because money makes the world go round, Like, this guy had so much freaking money. He did in what he wanted to do. It was just disgusting. And, I got some notes right here. Let me see. So one thing that was consistent was every player said the same thing about him. Like, he was a creep. He was a jerk. He did not care, and he treated you like property. Now, you hear a lot of players say that about owners, but this guy literally treated people like property. And he could care one iota about who was who and what was what. You have people, almost every interview said he would come in with his entourage, he would grab you. Oh, look at this Buck. Look again, Buck is it's a derogatory name, for an African American, because they, would use that term to describe a lot of slaves. Like, oh, he's a nice buck. When you think of a buck, you think of a deer, you think of big, strong, powerful animal. And that's what, he would display to a lot of people, that he was this, slave master. But one good thing that he did, I guess, was he gave Dr. Jerry Buss the money to finance and, take over the Forum, which became like a staple of LA, the Los Angeles Lakers. So I guess that was nice, but this bastard was so cheap that he didn't even have his own stadium. Now listen, not every, because the Giants and Jets, they share, stadiums. But my point is, every other NBA team, they have their own stadium. But this guy was so cheap. He was like, I'm not about to sit here and, buy another stadium when I can share one with you. Honestly, if he could have, he probably would have played out of high school. Like, that's how cheap this guy was. Like, he treated his players just like property. And he didn't care because he was making money. He was making so much money. He moved from San Diego to LA because it was better for him. It was beneficial for him. I think that he was over his head when he was in San Diego. And he ended up getting sued because, he wanted to play by his rules and just leave. And it don't work like that, buddy. So he ended up, having a suit and coming to LA. So that's how he got here. But, Dr. Jerry Buss, sold him some of his property, and he was all about money. He was all about understanding that it's a long-term goal. And, you can't just look, as some will say, as your arms long. You got to look past that. And that's one thing that I would respect about him, is his prowess of being a real estate mogul, and what he did as far as owning property. But he was an asshole outside of that. I mean, this guy didn't care about people. He had, discrimination suits against him. But again, being a lawyer, he could care less. Like, his main objective was to make more and more and more money. So that's what he did. But I was glad that his side piece took him down. Like, just hearing his wife, this poor lady talking about how V. Silviano, who was his side chick, how she was basically stalking his wife. Like, hey, I'm going to own this team and you're nobody. And again, I'm not saying cheating is right. I'm not saying, what you do outside your life. I don't care. But my thing was, he was just disrespectful. And he was bad for business. He was bad for the sport all around, and you can see how bad he was because of the teams that he produced. I think that while his team had the chance of actually winning an NBA title, that's when all this broke. In 2014, the Clippers were on the precipice of actually being a great playoff team, going deep in the run, but this happened and overshadowed it. And I'm pretty happy that it happened because he didn't have to be that winning owner. Like, I would rather them lose than to have him on that, that roster as the owner of the Clippers for winning a championship. Like, good. You know, F you, do whatever the fuck you want to do, just whatever. But just watching how ESPN broke that documentary down, I think it was so dope because it actually showed the ugly side that people like myself and people that don't understand what it's like being an owner. You know, like this guy was a jerk from the get-go. And it was good that they exposed that. And I love how a lot of players now are taking control. And a lot of people say, well, you know, players need to play. Like, you know, why should they be, you know, trying to run a business? You know, why is LeBron going from here to there? Well, guess what? NBA, it's a business. And at the end of the day, you have to make money. So when you have owners like, you know, Donald Sterling, who's not the owner anymore, he sold the team for $2 billion. His wife got the other half, his ex-wife probably. You realize that these players need to have their own freedom. These players need to be able to understand that if these owners can treat it as a business, then why can't I? And I think that people always say that these guys should be happy. These guys should be, you know, grateful for the opportunities that they get. Why? Like, just because they're playing a sport that they were blessed at does not mean that they got to take shit. No, they shouldn't have to take shit. Okay, so what? They got ability that most people don't have. So what? You have an ability to flip burgers. You have an ability to flip fries. You have an ability to own a company. You have ability to, you know, be a school teacher. Whatever your employment is, that's your ability. Like, if your owner talk to you like shit, but you going to take it? No, you're not. You're going to stand up. And a lot of these NBA players are standing up. And I love that they're actually understanding that I'm a business. This is my model. And this is what I was saying about Jay-Z, understanding that, you know, I have an opportunity to own something. Because a lot of black people weren't allowed to own anything. And we are so far behind the eight ball as a people that I love that people are actually getting in front of this and trying to own something, trying to make it where they can produce generational wealth. Like, looking at Donald Sterling pissed me off because people like him were the reason that a lot of my ancestors couldn't pass down, that generational wealth, or our people couldn't pass down generational wealth because of redlining, because of housing discrimination. So we couldn't own a lot. So we were forced to just do these measly jobs where the law was protecting white people, particularly white males, who can discriminate and making sure that we stayed slaves and that we stayed, property. But I'm so happy that you have a lot of people who understand what business is. And it takes sports sometimes to transcend things and to get people to see out of the lens that they won't normally get people to look in. So that's why I love this expose that ESPN did on Donald Sterling, because it wasn't just about, some owner who had a side chick who was acting like an asshole or who was a straight asshole to everybody. No, it was looking at how when you break down everything, like, minorities have been behind the eight ball because of people like him. He was able to capitalize on his whiteness, if you will, and bring it all home where he can pass that down to his kids. Again, this man worth $3.8 billion after he sold a team. Think about that. He sold a team for $2 billion. He split that in half, give his wife $1 billion of the team ownership. He shouldn't be allowed to sell anything if it was up to me. Like, his ass should have lost the team. Like, no selling, you losing the team, you ain't getting shit. That's how I felt. But again, he was allowed to win. He was allowed to get what he wanted to. And this is what pisses me off. But this is what I also love about sports, is that it brought people together. And sports has a way of doing that. So that's why I wasn't too pissed that he was out the league, because we need people like him exposed, like the like Atlanta Hawks owner. Like, people like that don't need to be in position of power where they can discriminate against others and stop others from actually eating. Now, listen, the way you feel about interracial dating, the way you feel about, people who are gay, lesbian, whatever, that's your opinion. but you don't have to discriminate against them because of your beliefs. And you shouldn't be empowered. You shouldn't have the power to stop people from getting what they want. And that's what I love about this expose. They did a great job of breaking that down. So when you're watching it, don't look at it as, okay, well, there's just another owner who got caught. No, look at it as how the American fabric has made it so, it looked like black people need to play a sport. And I think that that's what a lot of people think. Well, you should be lucky. No, I shouldn't. Like, sports should only be extracurricular activity, and if I make it to the pros, then guess what? That's great. But I shouldn't be lucky because I'm an NBA player. No, like these guys are humans. These guys are people too. So, please watch that. Please watch that. And I really loved it. Like I said, I listened to the whole podcast in a day. I just went through it. It was so dope. I just had so many questions, so many ideas on how they just really, put it all together and, just really put the pieces into it. So shouts out to them for doing that, man. I think it's so dope. And I would love to see, other people stand up and other players, take initiative and say, hey, I have to be an owner. So when people are hating on NBA players or professional athletes, just remember, like, they have a business. They can't play this game forever. So either you want them to be in control or you just want to be selfish. You can't have both. You can't have everything. So I loved it, man. I really love it. And I really love that players are actually, putting themselves in position to be owners. Like LeBron James, we know sooner than later he will be an owner. And that's so dope. Like, we know he's going to be an owner. Like, we see Michael Jordan, he made billions of dollars and millions of dollars, and now he owns the Charlotte Bobcats. So shouts out to him, man. And I would love to see more minorities becoming owners, and not only like small, minority owners, but really majority owners where they own at least 50% or more of the team, and that's coming. The Brooklyn Nets, they have an Asian owner. Again, so change is coming, and it's so dope. So, I'll wait to the fellas so we can talk more about that. But I had to talk about that. If you haven't seen it, 30 for 30, it's a Donald Sterling documentary, whatever, ESPN. Shouts out to you. Did a great job. College football is back. I'm so happy to see college football. My Florida Gators beat the Miami Hurricanes last Saturday. I loved it. A lot of turnovers on our part. We still got a lot to do. We still have a lot to really work on. But just to see college football back, man, I love it. I just love football, man. Like, I'm the type of person, like, I'll watch Pop Warner football. I'll watch a lot of these, YouTube channels where you have these teams playing, and just the sport of football and what it brings, just that grit, learning how to play as a team, learning that leadership, learning how to be, in command and control. And it's not just barbaric sport where people just banging heads. No, like, it's really game of chess. You got to think. So shouts out to everybody that's starting football. Now, my prediction is Clemson is going back to the championship. They still got, the freshman quarterback. Well, he's not a freshman anymore. He's Sunshine. He's actually a sophomore right now. So I'm really looking forward to Clemson being there. Now, I know Alabama had a major injury, but you just can't count Alabama out. I'm sorry, even though I don't like Alabama, being a Florida Gators fan, you can't count them out. If you look at for the past 4 to 5 years, it's been Clemson and Alabama, so it's really hard to count them out. And plus, the BCS loves Alabama, so they're gonna make sure that Alabama is in it. So shouts out to Clemson, who, for taking down the evil empire. But for my prediction right now, I have to go with Alabama and Clemson again. I know a lot of people have Georgia in there, but I have to see. I said week 3. I would definitely have an answer to that. So, shouts out to everybody, that's putting on. So before I wrap it up, watch the podcast. Don't Shoot the Messenger this Sunday. All right. Watch it. It's going to be a great one. Holla at your boy. Peace.